Okay, so I have at this point been working for the schools for 2.5 years, and I was definitely afraid of becoming fat and unhealthy, but I was so exhausted. All I wanted to do was come home from work and lay on the couch and either go to sleep or, to be honest with you, escape from what was going on. And my only escape that I knew was drinking. But I knew that wasn't good for you and it wasn't healthy, so I didn't really drink so much. But on the weekends I would, but I wouldn't, abuse it or anything like that. So, but really, I just wanted to sleep. I wanted my kids to be quiet. They were always loud, and I just wanted them to be quiet. All day long, I was dealing with kids in a school that were loud, and I just couldn't handle it. So I was constantly yelling at my kids and wanting them to be quiet. And then David has his two sons, and so when there was 5 kids at the house on every other weekend, oh my gosh, I just couldn't take it. I think it made me quiet. I got, like pulled back. Like I just didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't even really want to talk to David so much. I was angry. I was very angry. I was angry that I had to work full time and I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but I couldn't afford to be a stay-at-home mom on my own without having, I needed additional income besides the child support. And so I had to work. But I was just angry. I was angry that I was so exhausted and that I was having to do all of these things and no one was here to help me. And it's the same, it went straight back to, I think what ended up causing the divorce in the first place was I always felt alone. I felt alone and I was mad at myself because here I am. I went through all of this stuff, the separation, the divorce. I caused all of this grief for my kids and I'm still alone. How can I still be alone in now my second marriage? I'm alone. I'm working full time. Now, the reason I think part of I felt alone is because now I'm remarried in this second marriage and we have our finances kept separate. So it's like I'm by myself and he's by himself, and there's these two totally different worlds that, haven't combined, but it's hard to combine them when you're in a blending family. There's no rules. There's no book for how to combine families and what to do and how to do it. So you get to make up your own and what you feel comfortable with. And what I saw was, David had his 2 kids every other weekend and he felt guilty himself because he's divorced and he feels bad that his kids don't get to see him and he doesn't get to live with them. So whenever they come over, he wants them to be happy and have fun and do fun things. And, he would want to do that. But I didn't agree with those things in how I was living my everyday life because I have my kids 100% of the time. Their father isn't at that time in a different country. He was not even living in the country through the military. So there was no, this is a fun weekend. I wasn't having fun. I was exhausted and I was angry that I was going to work all day and my kids were there and I felt bad. I wasn't being a good mom, I didn't think. So, through the course of, David had his 2, so there was 5 at home. So I just didn't want to be around kids anymore working in the school. And that was really hard for me because I had to go to work. So I wanted to have if I had to have a job, I wanted it to be a work from home job. There's kind of lots of things going on right now, so I'm having trouble figuring out which direction to go in. But as far as working in the school, I wanted to find a job. I needed to find something first that was going to keep me healthy. And so that's when I learned of my husband had a friend on Facebook, and they went to college internship together, and so he saw on her page that she was looking for stay-at-home moms who loved fitness, and so he asked me about if I would be interested in in learning more about it. So he put me in contact with her, and through that, that's kind of where I first got started, because she explained to me that I could start my own business, and the way I would start my own business was by enrolling as a discount coach person. And we were on the phone for 10 minutes. I didn't know her, never met her before, but she explained a couple different workout programs to me, and I was going to the gym. I was paying a trainer a couple $100 a month and working out 3 or 4 times a week and lifting weights and stuff, because I had gotten an ankle injury through running, because I ran so much, because trying to escape from my life. I ran so much, but so I ran myself into injury, and so I couldn't run anymore. So I was trying to figure out how to add more cardio in with my weight training. And so that's what I chose to do that. So I got this little package. She said I could be a coach for free, whatever that means. And so then she started inviting me to do these different groups and learn more about the business. And so I joined it, and I was like, okay, this seems like this is a possibility. I could do this. But I was too scared. I didn't really know how to go about engaging or starting or talking to people with it. But then there was a Biggest Loser challenge the year before at my school, and they wanted, I participated in that, and I won first place in that Biggest Loser challenge. But then the next year, the teachers wanted to have it again, but the teacher had organized it, had left the school. So they came to me and asked for me to organize it. And so I said I would. So I went about organizing it in the way that they said they could set up this business, and had a little online motivation group, and just talk to people and share and show them how to get started, and talk about what's going on in my head as far as how do I incorporate these things into my life, and how do I make it a priority. So that's what I started doing. I just started talking to people about things to do. It just so happened that there was a new program coming out in February, and I decided that I was going to talk about that program. I had never done it. I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, well, if I get that program and we could all do it together, then that would be really awesome, because then we'd be all doing something together and learning. So I checked with the principal. She said that was okay if I talked about it, and I motivated people and talked to people about it, and use the email school system thing and send out things, and just, it didn't have to be a requirement, but it could be an option. So she was all okay with that. So then I started talking to people. I had a bunch of people that wanted to do it. And then we had an ice storm, and it closed down the school for like 3 or 4 days. And so I was just sitting at home, typing messages, talking to these teachers from my school, talking about what was going on and getting them in the group and getting them started and this and that. And then the next week I got a paycheck, and it was almost the same amount of money as my school counseling paycheck. And it kind of was like the ding that went off in my head. I was like, what in the world? I was like, that's pretty crazy. I was like, I could be doing this all day and make the same amount of money as I am as a school counselor, but with the potential to make even more. I mean, I could make more as a school counselor, but it wasn't going to be very quickly. And did I want to stay in the school system for 27 more years till I retired? No, because no. So I kind of just light bulbs went flashing, and I was like, what in the world is happening here? So I guess a couple weeks after that, I mean, it still happened the next couple weeks. I made the same amount, almost the same amount as my school counseling. I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. So I said to my husband, I was like, what if I just, could do this full time and be like a health and wellness coach and use my counseling skills that way and talk to people? But I mean, it's the same kind of job as a school counselor. It's just a different kind of population. What if I could do that all day and work from home, be there for my kids, and spend the time with them rather than other kids, and then probably feel way happier? What if I could do that? He's like, oh, you can't do that. I was like, he said, that's irresponsible. You cannot do that. That's just way irresponsible. I was like, it probably is. I agree. Sounds irresponsible, but what is it? I mean, in my head, I was like, I was married for almost 16 years, went through a separation and divorce, went through all of that because I felt unhappy and alone. And here I am sitting in the same exact spot in a different marriage, now working full time, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And so do I want to stay doing that just because it seems responsible? Was it responsible to get a divorce? No, it wasn't responsible to get a divorce. I had kids. I was married. You're not supposed to get a divorce. So I wasn't responsible. So I just had to take a chance. And the reason I took the chance was because during my separation and divorce, for 3 years we were separated, or, kind of talking about this, and I sat on a fence. I sat at the top of the fence for almost 3 years and could not figure out which side to jump on of the fence. Do I want to stay married or do I not want to stay married? What fence side do I want to be on? I couldn't figure it out for 3 years. And what I learned in those 3 years, going through many counselors, is that the problem and the reason I felt so stuck was because I was sitting on top of the fence for so long. Had I jumped to one side or another, then I could have moved forward. So inaction is a type of not action at all. I mean, it's a decision. Inaction is a decision. So I was deciding not to make a choice, but in the end, it was kind of hurting me. So that was where my problem was. I was just stuck. So I didn't want to recreate that in staying working in the school counseling position, because I felt stuck. I felt like I was alone. I felt stuck. I felt angry, and I was on the top of that fence again. And what was I going to do? So I decided to jump. I decided to jump to the other side of the fence and walk into my principal one day. I'm not, granted, I did take some time. I mapped it all out on a piece of paper. I put down my budget and all the things that I had going on, and figured out a way that I could make this possible. I talked to my husband. I told him that I wanted to do this. He thought he was supportive, but at the same time, again, he thought it was irresponsible. And I think in some way, maybe he was kind of jealous about it or angry about it. I don't know what the right word would be, is because he thought, I can't just up and quit my job. And who are you to say you're going to up and quit your job and you're just going to stay home? He's like, I want to stay home. That's the way I felt he thought about it. But I did decide one day just to go into my principal's office, and I said, okay, I'm done here. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go and I'm going to give 100% of my effort to trying to be a health and wellness fitness coach. And that's where I'm going to be. And her reaction was, oh, I knew this was going to happen. I can't say I'm surprised. And the funny thing is, when she told me that, she was always very nice to me, very supportive. And, but she didn't really ever share anything personal really about herself. But as soon as I turned in my resignation and we filled out the form, she just opened up and she was like, Terry, I wish I had the courage to be like you and be brave and do this. She goes, but now here I am in, how many years she had done this, 30 years. Now she's exhausted, tired, she's overweight, and she feels stuck. And it's crazy. It's crazy that, she was just like, I wish I would, she loves her job. She does. She loves her job. She's great at her job, but she didn't want to get stuck there. And I can't get stuck there. I don't want to be stuck there. So I quit.